Hi and welcome, taxi owners, to the webinar Maximizing Profits and Your Customer Experience with Taxi Call Center Outsourcing. I'm your host today. I'm Eric Mulvin. I'm the owner of Pac Biz. We're a taxi call center in Dumaguete, Philippines. I'm based in Phoenix, Arizona, my hometown, born and raised here. And I'm really excited about today's topic. So over the next 30 minutes, if you're a taxi owner, pay attention because we're going to be going over a lot of really important stuff on all about outsourcing, and how you can take advantage of it, the areas of your business you can outsource, what's all involved, how to get started. We'll go over that, and we'll go over what impact outsourcing can have on your financials. We're also going to cover how outsourcing can help you grow and scale your taxi business. I have some real personal examples from the last 10 months of what we've done with our taxi clients and how we've helped them overcome the challenges with COVID these last few months. So I'll share some examples from that. We'll also have 3 areas of focus that you should be looking at if you're a taxi company on where you can grow in the next 12 to 24 months. And then on top of that, I'm going to end it with 5 tips on how you could expand market share in 2021. So stick around till the end. You got some really great practical advice that you could take, and I bet if you implement one of those, you're going to see more growth. It'll be worth it. So first up though, give you a little introduction on me and my company here. So there's a picture of me. 10 years ago, I started my first business as a taxi company here in Scottsdale, Arizona. We got to 10 cabs, fire engine red. It was called True Cab. Pretty fun business. We had free coffee and donuts before you went to the airport in the morning. We had tablets in the back of the cabs. Back in 2011, 2012, where you could play music and watch Netflix, watch YouTube. We had our app. But by 2013, actually, we launched our own call center in the Philippines, taking calls for our taxi business. Like I said, we got to 10 cabs. But by 2015, Uber and the industry just changed too much and our model didn't work. But the call center was working out great. So we started working with our first company here in town, and started up officially our business. I became a dual citizen, so everything is all in my name here in the U.S. and in the Philippines. And we built it from scratch. So from 2015 to 2018, we started working with companies across the U.S., Canada, the U.K. We worked a lot of iCabby companies, but then we started doing other dispatch systems like Taxi Caller, Mobile Knowledge we've had some experience with. And since then, we actually, by 2019 now, we moved into our own facility. We take up almost all of the second floor, part of the first, and then the third floor is hotel space. So when things are back to normal, you can come out and visit us. So we got to up to 210 employees in 2020. I was out there with my family back in March when COVID struck and we had to evacuate out of their emergency trip home from the Philippines. And because of that and COVID, we've adjusted and pivoted. And so in 2021, the reality is now 80% of our workforce is work from home, which I never thought would have been possible in the Philippines, but it's actually working out great. We're going to keep that program going forward forever. And we're investing into it some more with better technology, monitoring tools, software for reducing noise in the background. There's a lot of things we put in place, and we have a lot more plans for this next year. In fact, there's a picture of me back in March with our nurse Daza. So we have a full-time nurse on staff before COVID, so it was helpful to help screen employees. And but yeah, that's our office area in the Philippines. Beautiful facility that is mostly empty right now, much like a lot of your offices probably are too. And then last, I'll end a picture of me and my wife and 2 kids. So my wife is been with me. I met her like a couple days after I started that first taxi business. So she's been with me from the beginning, and she actually, entrepreneur herself, owns a marketing agency, Monsoon Marketing, and provides support for a couple of taxi companies too. So if you need a marketing agency for your taxi business, reach out to. But and then we got our 2 daughters, Mia and Lana, 4 and 1 years old, and so they're always running around in the background. Hopefully they don't show up in this video today. All right, so enough about me. Let's get into how you could outsource and hopefully answer a lot of your questions you might have about outsourcing. So our model that we do, and I think most taxi companies tend to do, taxi call center companies, is dedicated agents. So instead of your call going to some random group of 50 people and who knows who gets it, it goes to a dedicated person that's only taking calls for you. So you assign the shifts. So you say, okay, we need these 200 hours covered, and you already have people taking calls now for you. So it's just a matter of, all right, we need a person to cover this shift, and that's really how it is. We do cash calls, corporate calls, we do medical accounts, anything that can come in that we can handle remotely, we'll do. We're even HIPAA compliant, so if that's a requirement for you to deal with your medical or non-emergency medical rides, that's something we can handle. We do part-time and on-demand. And so maybe you have, you need 3 full-time people, but you still have some shifts on the weekend that need covered. No problem. We have options for that, and you get still a dedicated agent only taking calls for you. And then we also have on-demand. And so let's say, especially with COVID right now, someone in your workforce, a family member is sick, and they can't come to work until they clear a COVID test. So what do you do? Well, let us know. We have those trained people already that have taken calls in your account. We can bring them up. Just put in the request, and then we'll get someone on to cover that shift. Dispatching and controlling. If you're a bigger fleet, after we work together for 30 days, we'll have a chance, or 30 to 60 days, we'll have a chance to find the best agents and give them some dispatching responsibilities and turn them into some dispatchers. We also have a training program to support that. And then if you're a smaller fleet where maybe the person taking calls, that's it, they're the dispatcher, the customer service agent, the driver support person, then we just jump right into it, and we'll do it all. Quality services. So we do it internally. I'll touch on that in a moment here. But if you have a hybrid model, like with some of our clients where you have Pac Biz agents taking calls, you have your own employees taking calls, if you're doing something like that, then we could help do the monitoring of the quality for your local call takers. The ones that, because most likely what we found is you guys don't listen to their calls. You don't do monitoring. If they have a bad call, you'll do some coaching. But aside from that, there isn't really much support. And so that's where we can come in and help. Lastly, we also offer email, chat, ticket support, putting a chat box on your website so that your customers can chat with you and having your agents answer. It's a way to generate more rides, hundreds of rides a month, booked through chat without even doing anything new. So it's another way to catch people, and if they like that experience, they're going to keep coming back. And that's the whole point of this thing, right? Getting your business to grow. So here's a picture of some agents at Pac Biz, and I wanted to give an example of what this dedicated agent thing looks like. And so we have our very first client, VIP Taxi, here in Phoenix, and then we work with a couple different yellow cabs. So these people, they only learn one account. They'll only take calls for one specific company, and that's it. And they could be doing that for years. We have really low turnover, and that's very common. And we'll have some people that are part-time. So they take calls for one company, take calls for another. And that's how we can help facilitate those part-time shifts. But they're not taking calls for other businesses at the same time. They got these 8 hours on Tuesday for VIP, and then the next 8 hours on Wednesday is for yellow cab. It would be like that. But that's kind of how the dedicated agent model works. They become deep knowledge into your account, your city, your community. Next up, every single agent at Pac Biz, whether you have one person taking calls or you have 20 people or more taking calls, we provide them with 5 points of support. And so it starts out with training. We have a really great training team, and we make sure that we kick things off right, getting all the information we need to run your account successfully and give your customers a great experience. Supervisors. Every agent gets assigned to a supervisor. Those supervisors are on 24/7. They're making sure the agents are logging in, logging out, going to lunch all time, going to breaks on time. If there's issues with the system, they'll help jump in, communicate something with you. Maybe you're an iCabbie and iCabbie is experiencing problems, so we communicate that back to you. The supervisors are there to help that out with that. Quality department, like I mentioned earlier, we could do quality on your people, but internally it's really important, whether it's email, chat, messaging, ticket support, whatever it is, phone, voice messaging, we will have it monitored by our quality team. It goes into a system that the agents can log in, they can see how they're doing over time. It provides coaching opportunities, so we can make sure that the agents are always hitting your goals and hitting what you expect on the phone. And in fact, let me go back here. With that quality department, we do regular call calibration. So, and it could be every quarter, every other month, every month. We'll listen to a call, you listen to a call, we get together and see how we scored it. And if there's differences there, we'll discuss that to make sure that we're all on the same page. And that's how we make sure that the agents are always doing what they're supposed to do, and how you have confidence that when you're not paying attention to what we're doing, that the agents are doing a good job. You know, you don't have to worry about complaints or anything, that it's all getting taken care of. I keep jumping ahead. Next up is account manager. So every single person at Pac Biz, every client gets assigned an account manager, and they're pretty much like my fill-in. You know, you can't call me all the time 24/7 when you need support. You have the account manager. So they're there Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 your time. They get a US number. You can call or text. And instead of having to reach all those different people at Pac Biz, you just reach your account managers. If you need extra hours, you need to change the schedule, you have coaching opportunities, you have feedback, maybe you're offering a new service. There's a new account that you started taking calls for, and we need to know, hey, if this business calls, this is the process you need to follow. All that goes to the account manager, and they take care of it from there. So you don't have to worry about anything else. Just focus back on your taxi business. And the last point of support that I feel like is really unique about Pac Biz is our company culture. We have made it a point from the very start to be a place that people want to work at and never leave. And so our very first employee back in 2013, back in 2015, 2016, I made her director of company culture. And to this day, we've made this an amazing place to work. Not only do we provide higher wages than other call centers so that we're attracting the best and brightest, but we also work with the community. We do stuff with the orphanages. We do events with the staff all the time, and it just becomes a place where it's family for them, and they don't want to leave. And so, and then the end result for you guys is the person that jumps on the phone and takes calls, that there's very little turnover for them. That you're not going to get a new face every 3 or 6 months. Ideally, that person's going to be part of your team for years to come. And usually when there are changes, it's because they're getting promoted and we need them in a management role. So those are our 5 points of support. I know I spent a little bit of time on it, but it's really important. I feel like it's something that, other taxi call centers, the differences between us and them is how much do they invest in those other areas. Because then, they might have a training department, they might have supervisors, they might have quality, but if it's not a great place to work and you're not getting paid, and you can go jump to another call center across the street and earn a raise and start working tomorrow, makes it really difficult for people to stick around. So I feel like that makes a big difference. And then last graphic I have here is whether you're working with us or any company, when you outsource, there should be a very clear process for how to get started, onboarding process. So here's Pac Biz, and we have a video that explains all this. I won't go through the whole steps, but it is laid out so that it's very clear where you're at, and that we can go from never meeting each other and you've never outsourcing to you have these certain shifts assigned and you're not thinking about it anymore, that it's running. So you could focus back on, how do I get my salespeople to bring in new accounts? How do I get my drivers to improve their service so that this new area that we're trying to grow in will flourish? But that's our onboarding process at Pac Biz. So, quick overview, we went over what can be outsourced: corporate, medical calls, cash calls. We could do part-time, on-demand, dispatching, we do QA, and do chat, email, ticket support. Dedicated agents is the model you should expect. So if you want to do some pay-per-call thing, that's out there, that's fine, but you're not going to get someone that has a deep knowledge of your city, of your account. You're getting more than the taxi agent. So remember that the advantage of working with us is we can surround them with support that you don't have the resources or the money to or budget, because you're putting it into your taxi business. So let us focus on providing that agent with all the support they need. And then there should be some kind of onboarding process to make the process getting started straightforward. You shouldn't have to be asking questions, what do I need to do next? And hey, I got this stuff here, you never asked for it. If you're finding yourself asking those questions, those should be a red flag, and you should talk to us. And the last note I put on here, which kind of goes off of what I just said, if you do outsourcing right, your customers shouldn't notice. I was talking with someone today in Fresno, and they were like, how do I know that they're not going to have an accent, or they sound like you're talking to someone in the U.S.? And I told them, like, when you work with us, your customers should think that they're talking to someone in their own city. And he was blown away. But they learn in the Philippines English from grade school. We only hire people that have been working with call centers with English clients for 3 to 5 years. So by the time they're working with us, there should be a very minimal accent, and if you're in a place like California, it'll sound like you're just talking to someone else in your city. We work with taxi companies in West Virginia and South Carolina, and it's no problem there with the accent. So just all that to say, with us, it's not a problem. What impact can outsourcing have on your financials? So let's get into that, because that's really important. So we're going to go over what is it costing you to run your call center, give you some ways to calculate that. We're going to go over employee costs, office space to consider, direct training costs, indirect training costs, and then of course, most importantly of all, customer experience. I'm always talking about customer experience. So if you go look up employee cost calculator on QuickBooks, you can go pull this up. I ran it for what does it look like. Arizona's minimum wage is $12 an hour. If you provide no benefits, this is roughly what you should expect to pay annually for a salaried person. And I looked at it for other states, so about 27 grand, 27 to 28. Across the country, that's probably what you'd expect in the US. UK and Canada, a little different, but it gives you an idea. And then to compare, a full-time person at Pac Biz working 40 hours a week starts around $14.50 a month, which is about just under $17.5 a year. So right there alone, there's $10,000 in savings for the salary. Another thing to consider, office space. So I've been to a lot of taxi offices over the years. I love visiting when things are normal and we could travel. So this might be what your office might look like. You got a cashiering office, owner has an office somewhere, there's some space for managers, driver support, conference room, and then customer service. Or maybe even customer support takes up a bigger space of your office and it looks like this. And so have you ever considered, if you didn't have to have all that space for customer service, what can you put there? Driver support, more expanded training. If your fleet has grown but you haven't changed the footprint of your office for driver support, you're still providing the same level of support for double the number of drivers, maybe it's time to make an investment there. Or maybe you want to downsize, do a smaller office. Maybe you want to have an office closer to your house or closer to where the drivers live or your customers are, and then you could use it to attract more drivers. And then the last thing up there, acquiring another company. So maybe you want to put that space for the business that you're absorbing and you're keeping some of the staff and you want to have them work out of there. If it's all taken up for customer service, that's not possible. You have to move to a new space, expand your office. Instead of that, consider outsourcing and repurpose that space. Direct costs for what impact outsourcing can have. And so something I'd like you to consider for you taxi owners here, who are the people that are training your customer service agents? I tend to find that it's the dispatchers, you have a call center manager, someone that's wearing a lot of different hats that has to pull off that one hat to put on the other hat to train those people. What else can they be doing when they're not having to train those people all the time because of the turnover? And that's my next point there. Not looking for new hires, not interviewing and training. And so those people tend to be one of the more experienced people in your organization. And if you have them tied up with training customer service, like they could provide a lot more value elsewhere in your organization if they weren't dealing with all that. So there's a direct cost there. You could easily calculate that out if you took the time, or if it's tracked, how much time is being spent on that. But even if you calculate all that, there's still indirect costs that you'll probably never be able to calculate. For example, how long does it take a new hire to get up to the speed of someone who's been working there for 6 to 12 months, or maybe not 6 to 12 months, but a couple weeks? There's still a learning curve that they have to go through, learning your accounts, learning your software, learning your customers and the whole patterns. And then also, when you're replacing a person that just quit, how do you handle those rapid scheduling changes? Someone quits on a weekend and now you have their next week of shifts they need to fill. So you're grabbing in other people to cover overtime. Maybe your dispatch manager is the one covering some shifts too. And so who else is covering it? Well, who are the higher ups that are having to cover the phones? Because you have to have them covered. And then what are the impacts of that? Are you having missed calls, longer hold times? Again, higher ups taking calls when they should be handling other stuff. Every time I talk to taxi owners, I always make sure to present a point about customer experience. And so it's a concept that I know a lot of businesses in the taxi industry don't fully understand, and so I always want to take a minute to explain it. So taxi customer experience, the way to think about it is it's three parts here in the taxi business. You have your back office, customer service, email, dispatch, all the stuff that's going on, communicating with your customers behind the scenes. You have your taxi and your in-cab experience. So there's the driver themselves. How are they presented? How's the cab? Is it clean? Does it have a good payment system? The air conditioning work, radio work, blah, blah, all that stuff. How's the payment process in the cab? And then also the dispatch software is a big part of it, because that's probably your app, or maybe that's the booking tool for your corporate accounts, or maybe it's something that communicates, sends out a text as the driver is approaching, and then also checks in with them after the ride. All of that combined is the customer experience. And so I've helped out businesses map this out from beginning to end so that you can identify which areas that need improvement and fixing. But something for you guys to consider is, imagine that customer service role. That's a third of the equation. And imagine if you're constantly having turnover, switching that person out every couple months, what impact does that have on the customer experience if that person's always new or always changing out? Especially for your accounts. If they become used to that person on the other side answering Tuesday afternoons when they're always calling for a ride for their business, and then that person is always switching out every 3 months, what impact does that have on a reflection of your company? And so those are some things I'd like you to consider, and how outsourcing can help with that by providing consistency and giving the customer a familiar experience that they're used to all the time. And again, it's less headache for you. We could help improve customer experience while you cut costs. So, what impact can outsourcing have on your financials? Remember, consider, what is your call center costing you to run? Remember, $12 an hour runs to like 27 grand a year versus maybe about 17.5 for a full-time taxi customer service agent. Office space can be repurposed. What can you do with that space? And how can you use that to save money, cut costs, or work with your growth plans? Direct training costs. We also talked about indirect training costs that you can't really measure. And then customer experience. What impact does it have, outsourcing or not outsourcing, on your customer experience? If that's a weak point of your business and something you'd like to fix, well, that outsourcing can be a solution for that if you have the right partner. So how can outsourcing help you grow and scale? So if your plans are expanding your fleet, now is the time to do it. And so when you're outsourcing, think about this. Managing call volume. When you outsource, all of a sudden, if you get a big new account, or if you're trying to grow your business and all of a sudden you get a big new account, now your call volumes shoot up. And so you have to be able to support that. Or maybe there's a big, you get a big medical account. So now Monday through Friday, you're super busy. And on weekends, you're not. How can you help scale and manage that? And so when you're outsourcing, you don't have to train call center agents anymore. So if you grow quickly, it's just a matter of letting your account manager know what hours you need covered and when you need people on. We also have experience supporting acquisitions. Our clients have gone through the process of what you see in that picture, expanding their fleet or buying up other companies. And so it's just a matter of, we work with them, they let us know, all right, in the next 30 days we're going to need 10 more people, we're acquiring this other company. And we make the process seamless. The agents are trained up and ready, and then on day one, instantly, they could focus on all the issues with the drivers and combining these companies and not the customer service side. Saving office space for driver or new services. Maybe you haven't done medical and you want to get into it, and you need some space to provide support for that, or to expand into that, or for business development. Well, there's a way to create some space for that too. And then we also provide consistent and predictable rates. We do have a 3% annual increase, but because we give our employees a 3% annual raise, and so our costs are going up. But aside from that, our rates don't change. They're consistent. I know that there's a concern for some of you guys of minimum wage increases, and in some cities, there's plans over the next 5 years to see their minimum wage increase. And so it's coming. You either make adjustments in your business model, or you could do outsourcing, and then we could help you with that challenge. And then, of course, more profitability equals more options for growth. If you're working with a bank to get financing or partner, someone's investing, they're going to want to see strong numbers. And if you could show more profitability, even from COVID, you could show your business is strong, it's going to make it a lot easier to grow, and you'll be able to grow even possibly faster than you were before because you can get more funding. All right, so that's how outsourcing can help you out during COVID. And let's talk about how outsourcing has helped our clients during COVID and helped the fleet staff that's been working with us. So one of the biggest things that we did was we adjusted business levels right along with our clients. So back in March, as soon as the shutdown started happening, we started cutting hours too, so that your expenses would go down, and because your revenue is dropping too, and we don't want you guys to be negative. So we took on that impact just along with you guys. In fact, even to this day, we're still at probably 75% of where we were before COVID. We've grown in other areas, e-commerce, but we've shrunk down in taxi, just like your guys' businesses have shrunken as well. And so that's one way that we've helped share that pain with you guys. Fleet owners were better able to focus on drivers and COVID protocol. Especially at the beginning, I think about all of the things that you guys had to do to make sure that your drivers were safe, that their customers felt like they're in a clean car, that they felt comfortable using you guys over and over again. And so that was a nightmare to deal with, and trying to get cleaning supplies, and when everyone else is trying to fight for the same stuff. Our clients didn't have to worry about managing the call center at the same time. And then less staff in the office. I think right now, the whole plan is social distancing and keeping people working from home, and so that was again one less headache to deal with for the clients that were working with us. Solid communications allowed for rapid changes. We've been working with our clients. Our longest client's been with us for 6 years, and then it keeps going from there. We have some that have been with us for 5, 4, 3. Our average client's been with us for 2.5 years. And I think that number would be bigger if we were older. So it was really easy for clients to reach out and say, hey, we're going through a lockdown right now. We need to cut the hours. And we worked together with them. And then the agents shared the reduction too. So if there was someone's shift that got all their hours cut, another agent that didn't get all their hours cut because there's still a need, they shared and helped each other out. So it was really a good example of teamwork with our clients and internally. We provided more options for recovery. So as your business starts to bounce back, how do you handle an increasing call volume? Do you add a full-time person? Do you let the wait times go up a little bit until, okay, now we'll put a full-time person on because they're waiting too long? Instead, with people, with clients working with us, hey, we need another 10 hours here. We need a couple more hours here. It's a gradual process, and so you don't sacrifice customer experience or your budget. And then work from home investment. We've taken on a big cost of investing into more technology for our staff, laptops so that no one has to share computers, technology to cut down the background noise, because much like your employees who are parents and kids doing class from home, we're having the same challenges in the Philippines and the same issues of them answering the phone, and their kids are taking classes too. So we've made a lot of investments into that space so that that's not a problem anymore. Less stress. You guys are dealing with a lot on a regular basis before COVID even hit, with everything happening in the industry and disruption, and then throw COVID into the mix. So there's just one less thing for you guys again to worry about. Options for the local staff who are quarantined and sick. And so there, we were able to help out. If you had local staff and someone couldn't come to the office because someone had positive COVID tests in their family and now they have to quarantine, or maybe they actually caught it themselves, we were able to put other people on quickly. It just made for minimal disruption for the drivers and the customers. 30 minutes limit, I guess. Okay. And then also, we help provide more options for local staff who are quarantined or sick. So the people we were working with that had Pac Biz staff and local staff, if they're local staff, someone had contact with someone with COVID, or they had COVID themselves, they had to quarantine for a couple weeks. Plenty of cases over the last 10 months where we jumped in and put more hours on to help fill those shifts so that there was no interruption for the drivers, the customers, and we made sure that that whole process was going smoothly. So, all right, so we talked a bit about outsourcing, all about it, how it could help your business, how you could scale with that, how we've helped our clients who are outsourcing these last 10 months during COVID. And so now I want to give you guys a couple tips, a couple areas to focus on where to grow in the next 12 to 24 months. And so first thing I want to mention is expansion into NEMT. And if you guys are members of the Transportation Alliance, even if you're not, they're a great resource. They're put out publications and articles and stuff. If you visit their website, there's free stuff that they're putting out, but you'll notice there's a big push into NEMT, and that's for a reason. And so I would recommend consider joining them if you want to get some of those materials or look at what other groups you can get into. But there is a big push across the country into NEMT, and so if you're not looking at it, here's another voice telling you you should consider it. Acquisitions, right? From what I understand, talking with clients and people in the industry, that acquisitions, this would be a good time for that. Businesses are struggling. Could be an area that you want to expand into, and the main competitor in that space is in a great position to buy them out. Or if you're not, maybe, I know with the taxi industry, maybe it's not buying them out, but maybe just moving into that space and letting them fade away. Either way, you have plans on growing. And then not just expanded market share, there. I mean, maybe there's new areas you want to expand into, new cities or communities that you've held off on. Especially here where I'm from in Phoenix, we're growing tremendously, and there's always new neighborhoods to start servicing. So that could be part of your plans. But if you're looking at growing in the next 12 to 24 months, even if you're not, something I really want you to consider is as more people get vaccinated this next year, people's habits are going to start changing. We went through a whole year of nobody traveling, or mostly anybody traveling, and nothing is the same as travel anymore. So you have an opportunity here where there's a whole bunch of people in this country that are getting ready to start new habits, and maybe they've never considered taxi before for whatever reason. The industry hasn't had a great reputation. But have they seen the 2021 version of your business? Do they know about your apps? Do they know about your new fleet, about the cameras in your car, about the excellent service that you guys provide, or how you're helping support the community while Uber and Lyft have disappeared during COVID? This is a time to tell people about you guys, and so that's the big challenge I want to put out to all of you taxi owners, is let everybody know about you, and it's because they're making new habits now, and you want them to pick you and not miss the boat here. So here's 5 tips for expanding market share in 2021 with that, and hopefully you can take these and use it to grow. So if you pull up your old accounts and call them back up. If you've lost businesses over the last 5 to 10 years because of Uber and technology changes, reach back out to those businesses and see if there's another opportunity there. Especially, I've heard a lot of people getting new accounts because Uber and Lyft are nowhere to be seen, and they can't provide the level of service that you guys can. So here's your chance. Another one is to, like what I mentioned on that last slide, reintroduce the 2021 version of your business back to these people. All the people that you've lost business from rideshare over the last 5 to 10 years, here's a chance to get that back, whether it's accounts or customers. Auditing your customer experience and making the necessary improvements. So I mentioned earlier about your customer experience and how you could map that out, and you could pinpoint, all right, where are the issues that I'm having problems in my organization, and how can we fix those? But they're hard to fix if you don't map it out. And so that's a process that you should start looking into if you're trying to make improvements. If you feel like you got everything else down, but your customer service needs some improvement, that's a great way to start. And then the last two tips here. One, build a list of area for opportunity in 2021 and act on it. So maybe it's a new industry that's developed over the past decade that you haven't really gone after, but they need transportation. Or it could be new contracts. I mentioned earlier businesses that could be on their way out, that you have been eyeing that area, but this business has been there, and they've had these great drivers, and there's nothing you've been able to do because it's far away from your home base. But now here's your chance. And then do a press release and call the media. I mentioned about the marketing business earlier. That's something that we help businesses do, but you could do it yourself. You put together something about your business. Hey, this is what I'm doing right now. This is what's new about my business, and you send it to the media and call them. You'll get some people answering back if you do that enough, and then they're going to do a story on you, or they'll go remember you the next time they need to do a story on taxi or transportation, or maybe you want to tell them, hey, my business, we're struggling from COVID, but we're still around, and we're ready to start bouncing back. Vaccines. You want to do a positive news story out there. That'd be a great way to get your name out there, and the reporters are looking for stuff like that. So that'd be my challenge to you guys. Do something to get your name out there in 2021. And so with that, we covered outsourcing your taxi customer experience. We covered what impact that can have on your financials. How can outsourcing help you grow or scale? We went over how outsourcing can help you out during COVID and times like these with the pandemic. Gave you a couple tips on areas to look into where you can grow in the next 12 to 24 months. And then also we gave you 5 tips on how to expand market share in the next year. And so since this is a recording, there's no Q&A, but there's a lot of ways to contact me, ask questions. So please connect if you have more questions. We'd love to answer them. And above all, we're here. I want to see you guys grow, these taxi businesses grow. That's our main mission here. So if there's anything we could do to help you with that, I think we got a lot of great resources here. But we also have a big network. I've been in this industry now 10 years. We know people that have reward programs that you can plug in to improve your business. And we can connect you with different software if you haven't made the investment yet to a better dispatch system. So if anything, I hope we can be a great resource for you guys too. So I hope you got a lot out of today's presentation, and I hope you learned a lot, and hope you feel motivated about growing your business this next year. And hopefully we'll be able to hear back from you. So thanks for watching, and best of luck in 2021 with your taxi business.